What's up everybody? Chana D, your Techno Dad here, and I got a great video for you today. We're gonna unbox a Klipsch R-112SW that I got last week. We're gonna set it up and do some tests to dial it in. So we're gonna get into all that right after the jump. And I am back. As you know, I bought those two big floor standing speakers, the Klipsch RP280Fs, and I got a free subwoofer, which is pretty awesome because the subwoofer cost $650. So yay. I was really blown away by the bass response of the RP280F, and I didn't even hook up the subwoofer until I enjoyed the speakers themselves in the last week. I listened to a lot of music, I downloaded on FLAC, and the speakers are phenomenal, crisp, clear, and the low end was there. Enough for music listening. Now when we go into movie listening, they did a great job. They just didn't have that like rumble, you know what I mean? That rumble. So that's where the subwoofer comes in. So let's see what's in the box and get on with it. Alright, first off we got the IEC 2-prong connector, then we have a voltage selector, and then we have the wireless port. You got your line ins, your left, right, or LFE. We have a 3-way switch for power, standby, auto, and on. We got a phase switcher for 0 and 180. Low pass filter, we've got markings 40, 80, 120, and on the right, LFE. That's what I usually set it on. And then you got your gain knob. All right, doesn't that look beautiful? That copper cone is amazing. It's really pretty awesome, and you got to see it in person. You know, the subwoofer is fairly large. Luckily, I don't have anything in that area, and it fits well on that Subdued HT that I bought the other day. So I'll put a link in the description for that as well. Basically what that does is it decouples the subwoofer from the floor. So you saw me set it up. Now we have to actually dial it in. What does that mean? I need to get that subwoofer to work with the two floor standing speakers in tandem. They need to work well together. Now I was talking to one of my colleagues that does the sound for all the live events that I DJ around town, and we're talking on about a 10,000 to 30,000 watt system, you know, 4 different levels of crossover. It's a pretty intense kind of setup. In talking with him, trying to figure out where I should have my speakers crossed over and the sub crossed over, he gave me the best advice that I'm going to give to you now. When people add a subwoofer to their hi-fi system or for their home theater, what usually ends up happening is they have too much bass, and the bass is overpowering and everything sounds bass heavy. And what you want to do is find the right balance. Yeah, sure, you've got a 12-inch or a 15-inch subwoofer and you like to shake the shit out of the house. Perfectly fine, perfectly all right, and that's what you're looking for, right? But here's the thing. You want to make sure you dial in that sub so it's not overpowering. You want it to sound natural. You want it to sound like that's a normal level of bass. And we can do this in a few ways. So the first thing I did was I ran the Odyssey XT32, I think it's called, through my Denon AVR. So the first thing you have to do is you plug in the mic, set up the tripod in your listening station, and then you turn on your subwoofer and set it to 12 o'clock. Now when I clicked OK, it said the subwoofer's too loud. So I needed to dial it back down to 75 dB. So I dialed it down. Once it reached under 75 dB, I got a green light, and then the subwoofer was at a good volume. So then the speaker setup could continue. Now as far as where I crossed everything over, I went with an 80 Hertz crossover for the center and the mains and the surrounds. The surrounds and the centers can go down to 60 and the mains can go down to 35. So I figured 80 would be a good place because sometimes you have male voices that get pretty low and you still want that to come out of the center channel and not the mains or the subwoofer. So I elected to go with 80. As far as the subwoofer, I have that set to LFE. I believe that stands for low frequency effects. It's usually the 0.1 of a 5.1 soundtrack. In the Denon, the LFE is set at 120. So you're getting an overlap. You'll have the subwoofer going from way down low to 120, and you'll have all the other speakers at 80 and going above 120. So I have the mains and the other speakers set at 80 Hertz. I have the subwoofer set at 120. So now we do a subwoofer sweep. And with the sweep test, what we're looking for is a nice even amount of volume from 200 to 50, or if you're going the other way from 50 to 200, you want to hear it. It'll go through your mains and into the subwoofer. You want to make sure there is no jump in volume, whether it's up or down. You want to find the right spot. So to do this test, I personally was going to make a sine wave sweep in my audio software to actually test this out, but I did a little poking around online and I found that somebody else has done that for me. You guys should definitely check this out if you want to dial in your subwoofer. It's a website called audiocheck.net. So here's the website I'm talking about, audiocheck.net. You should definitely check out this website. So let's go on to the sound test over here. So this is the sweep I'm talking to you about. Now, if you're wondering how I did the test, I have my Mac Mini hooked up to the Denon via HDMI. All the audio's coming through the Denon and being played out the Klipsch speakers. So when I hit play, I'm not sure you're going to hear much of this because it's only being recorded through this microphone. But basically, the guy kind of talks through the frequencies. If you hear them, you hear them. If you don't, you don't. In this video, at least. And when you try this out on your own system, you'll definitely hear it all.
10 Hertz, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200.
All right, wasn't that cool? What else do we have here? Let's see, he's got the subwoofer kick test. Now this is pretty cool. He made a bunch of kicks, like 808 kicks at certain frequencies. So that's also cool to check out on your subwoofer. Subwoofer mid-range frequency tests, you can check these out. Subwoofer crossover test 1, subwoofer crossover test 2. And he's also got these descriptions on what they should sound like and what you should hear and what you shouldn't hear. So this is definitely a good resource for you to check out. Here you got stereo imaging test, left and right stereo audio test, loudspeaker polarity test, stereo perception and sound localization. Wow, that sounds cool. So there's a lot of cool stuff on this site. I would definitely recommend you guys checking it out. Once again, it's called audiocheck.net, and I think I will give him $5 because this is a pretty cool site and I didn't have to do all this work. All right, so let's get back to the regular video now. Now for all these tests, you want to make sure that you're not running any surround sound. We just want the mains and the subwoofer to interact with each other so that we can set it properly. Now when I ran the test, I ended up having to turn my subwoofer down just a little bit. From there, it was a nice, solid audio level. I wanted to test it out to see if the bass was balanced. I want to make sure my subwoofer is balanced with the rest of my system, because if it's not balanced, it's going to sound overpowered and too bassy, and I'm not going to like that, personally. So I was thinking to myself, what movie has a nice big sine wave drop? And I was like, aha, I know which one. Lord of the Rings, the very first one, Fellowship, that's the one. You know what scene I'm talking about? It happens in the first 4.5 minutes in the movie. Galadriel's kind of telling the story of what happens, and then they're fighting. They're fighting on the slopes of Mount Doom for the future of Middle Earth, or whatever. And then when they kill, what's his name? Sauron, the bad guy, there's this huge, like, effect, like all this energy gets pulled into where he's at, and then it's a big ol' sine wave drop and a big crash when his helmet, the empty helmet, hits the ground. That is a great test to see exactly how balanced your subwoofer is once you dial it in after using the tests at audiocheck.net. Because in this scene, it's a battle scene, there's stuff happening all around you. You're getting a lot of high pitch 2 to like 7,000 hertz range. You're getting people hitting each other like thuds. That's happening in like the 500 to 800 range. And then you're getting some rumbles and this big sine wave drop once the bad guy gets killed. It's a perfect way to see if your subwoofer is now in tune with your system or too overpowered. So I would definitely recommend that to you guys wanting to dial in your subwoofer to make your movie going experience just that much better. So I'm really loving this Reference Premiere update with all these new speakers. The subwoofer is awesome. Next up, I got the RP140SA. Those are the Dolby Atmos speakers for my 5.1.2 setup. So stay tuned for that video. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, please smash that like button. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel using the button in the center of your screen. Once again, my name is Chana D. I'm your Techno Dad, and I'll see you next time.